The storm is coming to Atlanta, and this time, it's not just a metaphor. After a rocky first stretch of the season, the Falcons enter the bye week with more questions than answers. The energy in Flowery Branch feels tense. The air is heavy. And inside those walls, Raheem Morris is staring at the toughest decisions of his young tenure. Who earns the right to keep their spot, and who's about to lose it? 3 names hover above every meeting room: Storm Norton, Troy Anderson, Bralon Trice. 3 players who've been waiting, watching, and rehabbing in silence, each of them desperate for another shot at the field. They're cleared to return, but not everyone gets their place back in this league. Every snap matters. Every mistake is a spotlight. Let's start with Storm Norton, the quiet veteran with a lineman's grit and a fighter's patience. He's been sidelined since late August, battling through an ankle surgery that could have ended lesser men's seasons. But now, the clock's ticking on his 21-day return window, and his timing couldn't be more critical. The Falcons' offensive line has quietly become one of the league's most efficient, ranking 13th in run-blocking consistency. They're a wall built on chemistry and trust, 2 things that are never easy to reinsert mid-season. Yet behind the strength of that line lies a quiet truth: depth wins championships. If Norton can return as the dependable run-blocking force he once was, he doesn't just strengthen this group, he becomes insurance for the chaos that always comes late in the season. A man built for the dirty work, ready to step in when others fall. The Falcons can't afford to rush him, but they also can't afford to wait forever. Because every week, the stakes rise. Every week, the margin for error shrinks. And as Raheem Morris studies the film, one question echoes louder than all the others: who will stand tall when the storm finally hits? When you talk about the heartbeat of a football team, you start with the trenches. And in Atlanta, that heartbeat has been steady, strong, proud, unshaken. The Falcons' offensive line has been nothing short of a fortress. Through the first 5 games, they've allowed one of the lowest pressure rates in the league when facing standard rushes: no blitzes, no gimmicks, just man versus man. Only about 29% of dropbacks result in any pressure. That's 6th best in the entire NFL. That doesn't happen by accident. It's a combination of trust, technique, and toughness, the kind of unspoken chemistry forged in the mud, not in headlines. From Elijah Wilkinson stepping up big in Caleb McGarry's absence, to the quiet consistency of the interior unit, this group has kept Michael Penix Jr. on his feet and given this offense a fighting chance. If you had to grade this offensive line, most fans would hand out a solid B+, and honestly, that's fair. They've been good, sometimes great. But what's holding this offense back hasn't been the guys up front. It's been rhythm. It's been play calling. And sometimes, it's been a rookie quarterback still learning the rhythm of the storm. But while the offensive line has found stability, the defense, especially the linebacker core, has been the soul of this team. And no name sparks more debate among Falcons fans right now than Troy Anderson. Once seen as the future centerpiece of this defense, Anderson's story took a cruel detour: injuries, setbacks, the kind that test not just your body, but your identity. And in his absence, a new star quietly emerged: Divine Deablo. Deablo has been nothing short of spectacular. 18 tackles, a sack, an 86.1 defensive grade. He flies sideline to sideline with controlled rage, closing gaps that should never be closed. He's become the tone setter, a hybrid linebacker who plays with the precision of a safety and the violence of a pass rusher. Right beside him stands Caden Ellis, the quiet enforcer. Not as fluid in coverage, but brutal at the line of scrimmage, a heat-seeking missile who leads the team in tackles for loss. Together, they've anchored one of the most physical defensive fronts in football. So where does that leave Troy Anderson? Somewhere between redemption and replacement. His athleticism is rare: speed, size, range, but in a defense that's already clicking, he must prove he's not just another body returning from IR. He must show he can elevate what's already working. Because in this league, opportunity doesn't wait. And as the Falcons prepare for the stretch run, Anderson's comeback might not just be about earning snaps, it might be about earning back trust in a defense that no longer needs saving. There's a point in every player's career where talent meets truth. And right now, Troy Anderson is standing right at that line. Let's be real, no one questions Anderson's physical gifts. He's a freak athlete, fast as a wide receiver, built like a tank, and smart enough to command a defense. But the problem isn't what he can do. The problem is whether there's still room for him on this defense. Because when you've got guys like Divine Deablo and Caden Ellis balling out every week, flying around, making tackles, and leading one of the top defenses in the entire NFL, you have to ask the hard question, where does Troy Anderson fit? That's not hate. That's honesty. You can't just hand back a starting job because of what someone used to be. The Falcons' defense has earned its identity the hard way, through chemistry, through consistency, through pain. And right now, Deablo and Ellis have built something solid. Something Troy will have to fight his way back into. Maybe he comes back as a rotational piece. Maybe as depth. Maybe he works his way up again, rep by rep, proving he still belongs among the starters. But until then, you can't just throw off the rhythm of a defense that's dominating. Atlanta is in a unique spot. For the first time in years, they have real depth at linebacker. And that means real competition. If Anderson wants his spot back, he'll have to take it, not by name, not by history, but by force. And then there's another name rising quietly behind the scenes, Bralon Trice. A young pass rusher with raw talent and a motor that never stops. Coming out of Washington, Trice was supposed to be the next breakout story. But injuries and timing kept his debut on hold. Now, the Falcons can't keep ignoring him. Because if there's one thing you can never have too much of in the NFL, it's pass rushers. And this unit has already shown flashes of dominance. Jalen Walker, James Pierce Jr., Zach Harrison. These guys have brought something Atlanta fans haven't seen in years, pressure that actually matters. Energy that shakes quarterbacks. But before the team makes any final roster decisions, Trice deserves his shot. You don't draft a player with that kind of potential just to let him fade in the shadows. Put him on the field. Let him hit somebody. Let him prove he belongs. If he fails, fine. You move on. But if he doesn't, if he delivers even half of what he showed in college, the Falcons might have found another defensive weapon just waiting to explode. Because here's the truth, this isn't just about Troy Anderson or Bralon Trice. It's about what kind of team Atlanta wants to be after the bye. Do they play it safe and stay the same? Or do they take a chance on youth, on hunger, on the unknown, and find out just how good they can really be? There's a difference between being good and being undeniable. And that's what Bralon Trice was back in college, undeniable. When you turned on Washington's film, he jumped off the screen. Not just because of his size or speed, but because of how he played, violent hands, relentless motor, fearless pursuit. He didn't need to be the biggest or fastest guy on the field, he just refused to quit. Trice played like someone who'd been told no his whole life and was done listening. He'd fight through double teams, chase plays down from the backside, and explode through gaps that weren't even there a second earlier. That's the kind of effort that wins you games in December. That's the kind of fire that defines a defense. And now, after sitting on the sideline, watching the Falcons' defense evolve without him, it's time to find out what happens when you put that kind of energy back on the field. Because here's the truth, this Atlanta defense is already dangerous. Jalen Walker is becoming a nightmare off the edge. James Pierce Jr. brings pure speed and chaos. Zach Harrison has turned into a wall of muscle with a mean streak. But imagine adding Trice into that rotation. That's not just depth, that's destruction. He's not the flashiest player, but he brings something raw, something gritty, that second-effort burst that turns near sacks into game-changing plays. He's the kind of defender that makes quarterbacks nervous just stepping under center. And you know what? Even if he's not perfect, even if he's not the next superstar, Atlanta needs to find out what he can be. Because there's no film, no practice, no workout that can tell you what a player is until he's out there, under the lights, with 70,000 people screaming. Let him play. Let him prove it. The Falcons' identity this year has been built on heart and hustle. Bralon Trice embodies both. And if I had to pick one of those three names, Storm Norton, Troy Anderson, or Bralon Trice, to step into the starting lineup right now? It's Trice. Every single time. He fits the new soul of this team, fast, fearless, and hungry. And Falcons fans, I want to know what you think. If you could bring back just one of those three, who would it be? Drop your pick in the comments below. Because one thing's for sure, this defense isn't done evolving. And the next breakout story in Atlanta might be waiting just beyond the bye week.